Good evening, everyone. We want to welcome you to the Waynesboro City Auditorium for tonight's program. I'm Sean Dunlap. I'm the Economic Development Director for Wayne County, and on behalf of the Wayne County Board of Supervisors, who I work for, we send you greetings this evening. I think we have a very informative and wonderful program that's going to talk frankly about education in our community. It's nice to see this many folks show up when we talk about something as vastly important as our education. I want to tell you a little story. Last Thursday, I had an opportunity to be at the state capitol. We have what we call our Capitol Day, where we get to meet the lawmakers and also our state leaders, such as our governor and lieutenant governor. Had breakfast with the governor. First thing he wanted to talk about was education. Had lunch with the lieutenant governor. Thing he wanted to talk about was education. Had a meeting in between with the Speaker of the House and the Speaker Pro Tem of the House. They wanted to talk about, guess what? Education. That's exactly right. So when everybody in the state leadership is talking about education, it's on the minds of the people. And they are our elected representatives. So we're going to talk a lot tonight about education. We're going to answer a lot of questions. And I think it's going to be very beneficial and fruitful to all of you. So we thank you for being here tonight to show your support of education in the Wayne County community. We're going to invite Mr. Marshall Wood to come to our podium to deliver our word of prayer tonight. And we're also going to follow that with a time of silence. As many of you are aware, we're a nation still in mourning with what happened in a little place called Newtown, Connecticut, at a Sandy Hook Elementary School. You know, it's hard to imagine the terror, the fear that comes with an event like that. But what we need to do is pray that nothing like that ever happens again. One of the things that faces education more than anything else is a fear that someone just might walk in off the street and do harm to our children. We have to unite as a community through prayer that something like this won't happen again, because I guarantee you folks, it's not in our hands, it's in God's hands. So that's what we have to keep in mind. At this time, Brother Wood, if you'd come forward to deliver our prayer. At this time, we're going to ask that everyone please stand.
Let's pray together. Father, we thank you so much for the mercies that you've extended toward us in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We thank you for the community that we have and the opportunities that we have here to stand up for you. Father, we just pray now for our community, for our children, for our parents, and for our educators, that you will give each and every one wisdom and counsel and direction as we seek to follow you and glorify you. Have your way with this program tonight, that we may be strengthened and encouraged and enlightened how to better go about the business and the responsibility of education. In Jesus' name, amen. Mr. Jones had asked me to do a brief devotion to get this started tonight, and I'm going to do that. It won't take me just a minute, but I have a word from God. It says, train up a child in the way he should go. Proverbs 22:6, and we see an admonition of God. And that sounds an awful lot like a command to me. Train up a child in the way he should go. Let's consider that word train for a moment. Dedicate a child. Lead a child. Convince a child in the way that he should go. Direct a child. Encourage a child. Teach a child. Educate a child in the way he should go. There's a lot of directions one can go these days, and they're not all good. So with that admonition to teach, there's a direction to teach them in. Now, I want us to consider, just briefly, who is responsible for that command? And who are they responsible to? I dare say that anyone who places or finds themselves in a position to be a part of a child's training in the way that they should go is responsible to that command. And they're responsible to God. Anyone who finds themselves in that system or in that capacity, be it an aunt, be it an uncle, a grandparent, a brother, a sister, a friend, a teacher, a coach, a principal, a school board member, or the superintendent of education himself and his staff. They are all responsible for that command, to train up a child, to educate a child in the way that they should go. However, the primary responsibility for training up a child, which brings the highest level of accountability to God, goes to, and the survey says, the parents. That's exactly right. You and I, as parents, it's our greatest responsibility. We must do it. And we must support those who are about the business of doing it. Oh, my baby wouldn't do that. Yes, your baby would. It's up to us as parents to be primarily responsible for the educating of our children and supporting those, backing them up, who have undertaken that call on their lives. Now, at this time, we're going to ask the Rock Solid youth group to come and lead us in this moment of remembrance and silence for the tragedy in Connecticut.
May all the Rock Solid members and volunteers please join me. Also the Elephant Man of Wayne County. Now may the audience please stand as we remember the victims of Sandy Hook Elementary. Let's all bow our heads in prayer. Thank you. You may be seated.
Again, we want to express our appreciation for your attendance tonight. It's so wonderful to see such a large crowd come out in support of an issue that's very important to our community, and that's education. Right now, we want to bring to our podium a man who was involved in education for a number of years, retired and continues to serve his community as our Ward 4 Alderman. He's also serves as our Mayor Pro Tempore for the city of Waynesboro, the Honorable Johnny R. Gray. If you'd come forward, please.
He says two things you're not supposed to do for a politician: give a microphone and applaud for him, because it kind of encourages him to just go on and on. But I'm not going to take up too much of your time. It gives me great pleasure to do the weapon for this great occasion. I think it's a great occasion because it's an occasion of communication between the community, you know, school, parents, city, county, and all auxiliaries and everything that you're part of, because we have one thing in common, and that is our children. And that's why we're all here, and we hope that we continue to strive and work forward and go forward and try to do things, great things for all the children. And on behalf, and absent the mayor, and on his behalf, Mayor Joe Taylor and the Board of Aldermen for the Alderman at Large, Greg Johnson, and for Ward 1, Richard Johnson, and for Ward 2, Shane Barnett, Ward 3, Ms. Tammy Wilson, and yours truly, Ward 4, Johnny Gray. We are very pleased to welcome everyone here, and we're thankful for all the people that put this program together and had a great concern for our children, because we want them to be the best that they possibly can. And we want all levels and all areas that people working together to try to do the best thing we can for our children, because we know, as Marcia said, it started at home with the parents, with the great responsibility, but it takes the whole community like you here tonight to get the job done. So again, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Honorable Johnny Gray. Before we bring our motivational speaker to open this program this evening, this gentleman understands the word teamwork probably better than anybody else. He knows that success is not built on one person. Now, we think about that in terms of sports and we say, yeah, that's right, that's for sure. But guess what? Education is the same way. It's not the teacher solely that's going to do the job. It's not the principal solely that's going to do the job. It's not the superintendent of education or the board of education that's going to do the job. They work in tandem. But there's also some important team members that we haven't mentioned. Mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, great-grandmother, great-grandfather, aunts, uncles, sisters, cousins. The list goes on. You can only put 11 men at a time on a football field. In education, we have to put everybody on the field. Everybody needs to work in the same direction. If something's not working, we can't blame the other team members because we're part of the team. You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. Let's be honest about it. Isn't that true? I thought so. We're going to have church tonight. The man that I'm going to introduce next is our Wayne County High School football coach, Mr. Todd Mangum. He has come back to this community because he believes in Wayne County. But also, too, he is a molder of young men. He is molding young men to learn not just to win on the football field, but to win in life. What is education about? Teaching us to win in life but also how to learn to lose and lose graciously if we have to. It's not all winning. I guarantee you. Sometimes in that game, somebody's going to kick a field goal and you're going to lose. How do you handle yourself? Do you pick yourself up and dust yourself off, or do you accept defeat and say that's all I'll ever have? Education is the same way. We have steps forward and we have steps backwards. Right now, I'd like for you to give a warm Wayne County welcome to our good friend, head football coach, Todd Bain.
Thank you, Sean. One of the things that's important, and I'm going to kind of get away from this mic a little bit because I kind of talk loud anyway. Up at the top of that little itinerary for the program tonight, community taught education from parent to child. All right? Yeah, I happen to be the football coach at Wayne County. I've got the best coaching job in the state of Mississippi, the best coaching job in the United States in high school football. The biggest responsibility I have is when I go home every day from work and my 15-year-old son's like, now my daughter's in college now, okay? And I can't see her and I'm not with her all the time. And you know, there's a little bit of regret there because I think about what could I have done to make her or to help her be a better young woman now? What could I have done? I look at all the time at how can I get better? I try to get better as a coach. I go all over the country and talk to other coaches about how I can get better coaching, but how can I be a better parent? How can I be a better parent when I go home, when I leave here tonight? What can I do to help my son be a better person? And that's what we all need to ask ourselves each and every day, is what can I do to be a better mother, father, aunt, uncle, grandparent, whatever it may be. Because it's kind of like Sean said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And we can't be pointing our finger and blaming somebody else for what my child did. Because when my son goes to school, when he goes down to the middle school and he fails a test, first person that I'm going to look at is him, and the next one I'm going to look at is me. Because what did I not do to help him be successful? Okay? And I think that's what we all have to do, okay? You know, we all got to be pulling that rope in the same direction, okay? We all got to be going in the same direction, because if we're pulling against each other, you ain't going to get nowhere. You ain't going to get nowhere. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. We ain't going to get that wagon out of the ditch if we pull it in opposite directions. But if we pull it together, we're going to get it out. And that's what we have to do. We, not me, but we have to do is to work together to do whatever we can do to help our children be successful. All right? Now, what is being successful? Being successful is teaching them how to finish. Finish. We talk to our guys all the time about finishing. Finish. Don't get to the 1 yard line and stop. Go score. Take one more step. And no, every child is not going to be a valedictorian and a 4.0 student. Heaven knows I would. Because if it hadn't been for a whole lot of grown folks I wouldn't be standing here right now. I wouldn't be here. If it hadn't been for my mama and daddy and a whole bunch of other folks, I wouldn't be here right now. Don't know where I'd be, but I wouldn't be right here. But we've got to teach our children and to help them do the best that they are capable of doing and to finish whatever they start. Because quitting's easy. That's easy. I ain't gonna do that. Just quit. And we don't need to condone quitting. We don't need to accept that. We, now remember I said we, because it ain't just me, it's we. We can't accept that. We need to push them to finish whatever you start. If you want to be a doctor, you be the best doctor you can be. If you're going to be an electrician, you be the best electrician you can be. Be the best at whatever you do, and whatever you start, finish. Finish. I'd hate to see a running back, one of our running backs, run 99 yards and stop. And you would too. But we laugh about that, but it's the same thing if we don't push our children to finish. Do the best that you can do and finish whatever you start. And don't quit. Let's let's we be part of the solution and not part of the problem. That's what we must do. You know what? This what should be tonight, this shouldn't be, we should have had to have this thing at the football field. So we have enough room for everybody. But you know, that's just how it is. That's how it is all the time. Okay? So now, we must pick up the slack. We must pick up the slack. There's some of the guys, players, that I see as much as mom or dad as they see. They spend as much time with me. And that's why I try to do my best to teach them the things that we all need to be teaching. And that's finish. Let's strive to do your best at each and every task that you do, and do it to the best of your ability. Because we always hear this old cliche about 110%. I've never seen a 5-gallon bucket hold 6 gallons of water. It ain't gonna do it. You can't put the 5 gallons of water in a 5-gallon bucket. It'd be filled up 100%, right? So that's all we need to expect is 100%. But now, along with expecting that, we have to do that too. We do. We can't let those people down. Thank goodness. And my dad's dead and gone now, but he never let me down. My mama still don't let me down. They never let me down. And there's some other people that were influential in my life and growing up. Some still here, some not. But they never let me down. They always did their part. But I was always expected to do mine. So that's what we must do. We must do our part. As parents, as adults. Because now think about it now, and You know, there's a few people in here a little older than I am. And there's some people in here younger than I am. But let's all think about it now. The ones, our children today, and that's who's going to take care of us. That's who's going to take care of us now. That's right. Now, are we ready to turn our lives over to some of the things that we are allowing to go on or neglecting in our community, in our town, in our state, in our country today? So that's why it's so important that we do our job. Again, we need to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And we need to do our job each and every day, because these people, these little people, are going to take care of us one day. So we need to make sure we're in good hands. That we're in good hands, and we're doing everything we can. Teach those people, teach those young people to do what's right, to be accountable for their actions. Don't blame somebody else, and don't point our fingers at somebody else and blame somebody else for what we didn't do. Let's all be part of the solution and not the problem. Thank y'all.
Listening to Coach Mangum's comments, I'm reminded of an old saying. And one of the best coaches I ever had when I was growing up told me this. He said, if it is to be, it is up to me. I say we change that. When it comes to education in Wayne County, how about this? If it is to be, it is up to we. Not me, but we. And you know, I think about that. That was 27 years ago. And I think about that still to this day. I had that coach and that teacher in my life that still 27 years later. And Todd Mangum will have that influence on some young men in this community and young women as well. Right now, I want to introduce a longtime friend of mine who will introduce our speaker tonight. Ms. Faye Taylor will come to the microphone. Let's give Ms. Faye a warm round of applause.
Good evening. Good evening. I first give honor to God, who should be the head of all of our lives. To all the ministers, Mr. Dan Jones, our guest speaker, Ms. Denise Brooks, and Mr. Todd Mangum. To Mr. Sean Dunlap, our MC. And to each of you that make up this beautiful congregation. My task is easy. I'm here to introduce our guest speaker. She is the director of the urban program of WOW 106.3 and 102 JKX. She is a graduate of S.D. Lee High School of Columbus, Mississippi, and the University for Women's, where she majored in fashion. She has been in radio industry for more than 30 years and has won many awards. She's a mother, a woman, and very active in her community. There is more I could say, but at this time I present to some and introduce to others my boss at 102 JKX, Miss Denise the Diva Brooks.
Thank you, Ms. Faye, for those kind words. And to each and every one of y'all, I am indeed glad to be here. But I have to tell you, my son is a father himself, so I'm an old school mother. And I've got some information for you new school mothers, and I've got some information for you children. There's a song that's very near and dear to my heart by Ann Nesby, and it's called Advice. She and her daughter sings this song together. And there are some words that are recited in that song that I want to share with you. Let me put these on. Young people, obey your parents For God says it is right to do so. And parents, provoke not your children unto wrath, for in the heat of the moment it could cost them their souls. Remember that, okay? And children, if you think your parents don't understand, they really do. I'm going to say this, parents, you have to be on the battlefield for and with your children. Prepare them for the future. Make sure that they learn all they can when it comes to education. Prepare them for life challenges by teaching them skills of how to be obedient to their elders, minding their tempers, and how to socialize, how to walk into a room, say hello, how are you, goodbye, thank you. Those things are very important, and our children are losing today. Prepare them for the future by having a sound foundation with a higher power. They are going to need that to get them through. You got to let them know that you will always be there for them. You got to be on the battlefield for and with your children. Parents, you've got to stay equipped with the latest apps and updates. You have to be able to keep up with your children. You have to know about Facebook, Twitter, all the technology with cell phones, emails, Instagram. Because if you don't know, guess what? They're smarter than you are. They think they can tell you what you can and what you can't do. And when you punish them, it used to be a time where you could take away just the TV and the toys, but now you have to take away a whole lot of things. If you take away the TV, they got the cell phone. If you take away the cell phone, they got the TV. There's nothing you can really take away from these kids today. If you say go in your room and read, they pout. So we have to get back to being parents and making sure that we don't give our children these tools too early. Some of these parents, and I'm not trying to be your parent, you give kids cell phones at 9 years old. You send them in their rooms to do whatever they want to do with those cell phones. Do you know cell phones come equipped with the internet? Do you know what you can find on the internet? Google. You know what you can find with Google? You can put in one word, and Google will pull up everything, anything. It will show you pictures. Guess what else cell phone has? YouTube ability. And if some of you grown-ups have been to YouTube, you know what you can find on YouTube. So we've got to get back to parenting. Stop sending our children in the room and saying, go away. Okay? We've got to teach them things at home. We've got to be on the battlefield for and with our children. Listen to your children. Know what is bothering them during the day after they come from school. Know what they want to do with life. Okay? If you don't know those things, guess what? You don't know your children. Am I right? How many times have you seen your children come home and go straight into the room and close the door? And how many of you have said, oh, they just got an attitude? You never try to find out what's wrong. And if they do have an attitude, you get an attitude. You never stop to take the time to say, come and sit down with me. What's wrong? How many of you, after a long, hard day at work, you come home and you don't even have time for your children? You're cooking, you're washing, you're preparing for the next day. You say, have you done your homework? You better do your homework. How many of you are still checking homework? How many of you do not support what your children believe in? I've heard parents say, I don't support music. You can't make a living with music. My mama used to tell me, you talk too much. Now I'm making a living talking. So, I have a niece who loves to paint. Her mother told her, you cannot make any money painting. How many of you in here know people who paint? Graphic designers. That's money. So whatever your child's talent is, find out, support it. You get on Google, find out, type in music, type in painting, and you'll be able to see all the people who have made a career of doing these things. How many of you see your children taking pictures with their cell phones all the time? There's apps on cell phones where they can crop the pictures. They can do so many things. So know what your child's passion is in life and support it. And if you don't support it, there's always an alternative. There's something else they could do. My major in college was fashion merchandise. That was my first career choice. But I knew I loved to talk. So guess what? I started out in fashion. I ended up doing the thing that I wanted to do. So know what your children's passion is, okay? Talk to them. Don't expect everybody to do it at school. We're not in a time now where your neighbor can punish your child. Because guess what? We as parents, you can't tell my child what to do. Not only that, you don't even want your sister or your brother, your niece or your nephew trying to tell them what to do. As they said, it takes a village to raise a child. And if you're in the same neighborhood with him and he sees your child doing something, why can't he say, stop, I'm going to tell your mother? And not get, well, you can't tell me what to do. My mama is not going to believe you. But then again, we have to teach our children about being respectful to their elders. We have to be on the battlefield for and with our children. Your children have to have a foundation. You have to give them that little thing called the Bible, or whatever you may call it. They've got to read it. Because if they don't have a foundation, what do they have? When we were growing up, we had to go to church every Sunday. Some of us even went to Sunday school. Some of us even went to Bible study. Now, some of us in here, we know the Bible from the front to the back. How many of us can say our children know that? The best thing that I ever saw from my son when he first went off to college, he came back. The first thing he unpacked was his Bible and put it by the nightstand. I felt safe because I knew he had a foundation. He had something else he could turn to. Parents, you know one thing, we send our children to school and we expect the teacher to be able to do everything. The teachers that teach what's in that book. They send our children to detention. They even send our kids home. And then we get angry when that happens because guess what we haven't done? We haven't done our job as a parent at home. And it starts early. It doesn't start with just high school. When your kids are in daycare, preschool, it has got to start there. You have got to take some time. When they come home, most of them are hyper. Daycare, preschool. You've got to teach them to sit down and have quiet time. Quiet times gets the soul centered and they're not so busy all the time. Have you ever seen children in church or in the grocery store, how their parents just can't calm them down? They're going 100 all the time. They haven't taken the time to slow them down and get them centered. We have got to be on the battlefield for and with our children. It starts with us. And it never stops. I am 54 years old. My mom, as the coach said, my mom still keeps me in check. She'll call me and say, have you done this today? Have you done that this week? My biggest problem is resting. I'll call her on Sunday morning and she'll say, what are you doing? I said, I'm just sitting down, watching TV, or I'm still in the bed. She said, stay there. She said, because you have to get centered too to be able to give somebody else something that they need. So listen, we've just got to do our part. We've got to listen. Your parent will always be your parent. Your neighbor, if they're older, will always be the neighbor that you grew up with that taught you something. So learn something from them, okay? Start your relationship with your parents and children and start your relationship with parents. Start your relationship with your children and children start your relationship with your parents and it will take you all through life. Miss Faye, you're with your mom right now. And I'm quite sure your mom still tells you things because you don't know everything. So parents, children, share, listen, talk. Parents, be on the battlefield for and with your children. Take the time. Make the time. You'll be glad you did as they grow older and get out on their own because like somebody said tonight, they're going to be the ones that are going to take care of us. And if we don't teach them right, they're going to throw us away just like we throw them away growing up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise Brooks. Very encouraging words. And you know, something she said just kind of struck a chord. I flew in from Washington, D.C. this morning, got home, got in my bed at 1 a.m. Fought that storm all the way. I said, boy, it's going to snow me in Jackson. I'm going to be stuck here. What am I going to do? And I had to put my trash out to the street. Let me tell you what happens every Thursday morning at 5:30 before my mama goes and works at her school. She calls me, if I'm asleep or not, and tells me to make sure that my garbage is out to the curb. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm 44 years old, and she lives 2.5 hours away from Waynesboro. She knows where the garbage man is. So, thank you, moms, and thank you, dads. Just a quick note to pass along here. We want to thank Ken and Rebecca from A Hummingbird Video. They are videotaping tonight's program, and we appreciate that. It's going to save this moment for posterity. For those who are not here, we're going to hope that they want to see what we shared tonight. We're sharing something special. We're actually talking about education. And let me tell you something Coach Mangum said real quick. I'm glad to see this many people here, but we should have had it at War Eagle Stadium. Guess what? Some of the stands are gone now. I'd love to see people standing in the end zone watching this happen. Wouldn't that have been nice? That doesn't mean we love our kids any less. We've just got to get some other folks to the table. And that's where our work is cut out for us. We've got to get them to the table. Speaking of table, we want to bring Marshall Wood back up. He's going to introduce our panel for tonight's program. And we're going to have a number of questions. This is an opportunity for us to open up. Let's talk about education. Let's be frank. Let's not be critical. Let's see how we can work together. Teams don't tear each other apart. I can tell you, Coach Mangum, I'm not going to come to the field house and tell you how things are to be run. But I guarantee you, if Coach Mangum goes to Ramey's store, everybody knows which play should have been run last Friday night. If you'd have run that sweep to the left, we'd have had 7 more points. Rather than second-guessing people, Coach, thank you for the win. You could have had 7 more points, but hey, thank you for being a leader for our kids. Rather than worrying about 7 more points. Because we already had 49 points up on them at halftime. And you know I'm right. You know I'm right. I love to see coaches in the store. I'll go see them at Walmart, I'll see them at Ramey's, and they'll see me coming up, and I will never say to a coach, you should have done this. You know what I will say to them? Thank you for being who you are. A good man. That's it. And sometimes they look at me and they're like, I've been around high school sports for 27 years. Let me tell you something. There's no greater love than a coach. And I say that. Coach Gray, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Marshall Wood, if you would introduce our panel at this time.
I'll ask a question my son asked me sometime. We having a good time or what? Yeah. All right. That's what I'm talking about. We're fixing to move into a different phase here for a little bit, and we're going to have a group of individuals that's going to come up and share a little bit about what they're about and what their programs are about. And I have a job to do here now. I'm fixing to step over, and it's probably not quite as rude if I tell you that I might be rude in advance. So I'm speaking to our panel members. I love you, respect you, but for the order of decorum, there's a couple of things that everybody needs to know that we're gonna do. That's my job. And these phones have timers in them too. So I've been practicing using it this week because, I just want you to know the way we're gonna do this is I'm gonna introduce a speaker from one of our panel members. They're gonna come up and they're gonna take a maximum of 3 minutes. And that's my job, is to police that 3 minutes. I mean, that's just what I'm here to do. And at the end of 3 minutes, I'm going to stand up, and that's your cue to take your seat at the panel table. Okay? Now, that's what we're going to do. And then I'll introduce the next one. They'll come up, and they'll speak for a maximum of 3 minutes, and then they'll have their seat. And we'll go through, and then we'll get everybody introduced. They'll have their introductions, and then I'll come back to the microphone, and we will take questions. and we'll direct them to anyone that you would carry on the panel, and they will have 2 minutes to respond to, a maximum of 2 minutes to respond to your question. Here again, that's my job, that's what I'm here to do, just to make sure that works. So that having been said, our first panel member tonight, representing the Elephant Men Mentoring Program, is Mr. Dan Jones. I'm going to ask you if you'll come now, Mr. Jones.
Have you started yet?
I'm working on it. No o'clock.
Good evening. I shouldn't take that long. I just saw you ask that question, how many of y'all are having a good time? And it reminded me of when my brother joined church. And that was during Bible school, but we got baptized on that Friday. We joined church on the Tuesday and they baptized Friday, and got through fellowship and everybody sitting there, and pastor said, how many of y'all want to go to heaven? Everybody in there raised their hand except me and my brother. He looked down at us and we just been baptized. He said, boy, y'all don't want to go to heaven? We said, yes, sir. But mama told us to come on back to the house. He said, y'all ain't getting along to get up tonight to go, are you, today? So yeah, we want to go to heaven, but I want to stay here as long as I can. Let me just say that the Elephant Men of Wayne County have been in existence for 11 months, not even a year. We started last February visiting the schools. And we have had an excellent time going out from Buckatona to Beadford to Clara to Waynesboro Elementary to the Wayne County High School. Every school in the county we have been visiting. Those guys you saw standing up a little while ago in the green shirt. Stand up again, guys, so they'll know the Elephant Men. And when you see their size, you'll know why we call them the Elephant Men. A lot of people want to know how y'all get that name. There's a couple of them in the back there, but only one of them, they said, may have to gain a little bit more weight. But in our visiting the schools around here in Wayne County, we have found out that there is a serious problem. And I feel for you teachers, both present, retired, and those of you who may be going into the teaching field, if we don't do something to help y'all do the job that y'all are being paid to do. I have found that when we go into the classrooms, the teachers have to first raise many of the children before they can teach them. And there is no way that they can teach and raise a child. And our concern is that let's start at home raising our children. So when they get to the classroom, they are ready to learn. Now some people, we have young parents and all, and some of them say, well, this is something new to me. So I can go buy my child a Barbie doll or Superman toy, and when I open it up, it's got directions in it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's not a book that comes with that child when it comes to come into this world to tell you how to raise that child. Not coming with that child. But ladies and gentlemen, y'all have heard it already tonight. There is a book that you can learn and you can get. And it's called a King James Version of the Bible that'll teach you everything you need to know about raising a child. Thank you.
I want to thank you, Mr. Jones, for making my job easy. I'd hate to get on you right off the bat. I was wondering about that Elephant Man thing too. I can relate to that. Our next panel member tonight is representing the JAG mentoring program, and I'm going to ask now if he would make his way to take his 3 minutes for introduction and his place at the panel table. Dr. John Jordan, please welcome him to our panel tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. We'd just like to say that my name is John Jordan. We are the Director for the Community Education Support System of Mississippi. We're in existence for going to our 5th year. We work with basically 2 programs, one, the Tobacco Coalition, as well as the JAG program. Just like to take just a second, if I may, and share what the primary goals that we are working with as it relates to the tobacco grant. We have Pamela Lane, which is not here tonight. They have a meeting in Jackson, so she wasn't able to attend. I'd like to share the directions as well as the goals in terms of what we are doing. 1, we prevent tobacco use among youth. 2, we advance statewide sanitation services, minimize exposure to secondhand smoke, and eliminate tobacco-related disparities. I know many of us, a lot of people smoke, and she shared with you the dangers of tobacco, especially secondhand smoke. I know some of our children may suffer with breathing problems and that kind of things, and that's what she does, to share with the schools and the different facilities in terms of what that tobacco does. Second program is the JAG program, which is dealing with the mentoring program as well as community school home initiative. We have 2 staff here with that program. We'd like to ask Whitney if you would stand. She's the manager of our program, and also Ms. Pope, which is working with the mentoring piece. Thank you very kindly. We also have the primary goals for that program. 1, to improve and increase academic success. 2, to provide solutions and behavior techniques for conflict resolutions. 3, to build self-confidence. And 4, to help parents help students plan for a life after high school through educational and career planning. And basically, those are things we try to do. We try to work with parents to help students come up with a plan. We believe that every student in Wayne County ought to have an educational plan. And in order to have that plan and for it to be successful, we think students and parents ought to be able to work together with that. And that's what we do. We sit down with the parent and the student, develop an educational plan for that purpose. I believe if you know, in order to get to a particular place, I think you ought to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, we believe in the road to take you there. So that's our goal. That's what we try to do. And I'll share another minute, maybe 30 seconds to whoever the next speaker is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. Welcome to our panel. Our next panel member is going to be representing a dual capacity here tonight. And, he's going to be representing the NAACP Education Committee as well as the STOP Intervention Program. So I'm going to ask at this time if you would join me in welcoming the Reverend Jeffrey Bogan to our panel table, please.
Thank you, Mr. Woods, to superintendents, administrators, staffs, educators, and parents, all of you, Mrs. Joan McConnell, who is the one that represents really and works so faithfully with the Wayne County branch of the NAACP education program. I assist and work along with her in this program. Make it short, as in what we do. The Wayne County branch of the NAACP education program, we strive to ensure that all students have access to equal and a high quality public education. In a nutshell, that's our purpose. And if you have any questions, we'll be in a few minutes. You can ask us by way of the question and answer period. Also, the other program we have is the STOP Intervention Program. STOP Intervention Program is a program which the Spirit of God gave me 2 years ago when He spoke to me to go to church one morning and tell my congregation that if we did not do something to get a hold to our young men and children, that we was going to lose them. I failed, I believe, God by not doing what He said, and on that same given day, a tragic occurred within our community where life was lost and 2 young men, well, 3 lives, all being affecting the family and community as a whole. But since then, we have been striving by way to take a passionate and active role by ensuring that we can be a positive part in coming to a cure, to be able to end some of the violence within our area. The word stop means playing a role in stopping slothfulness pertaining to our kids, teen violence, other vices, which includes SAD, smoking, alcohol, drugs, which we able to work with Mr. Jordan and the JAG and the RAT program and others at the table, as well as helping to prevent the dropout that occurs within our school program. We have been working with the program now for the last 2 years as a pilot program. We have worked from the ages of grades 6 through 12, motivation and going into the alternative schools and ISS, working with the kids on those levels. So we try to play a role in character building. That's our purpose in the Stopper program. We do character building, that we can be able to instill into them the right character, the right mindset, that they might be able to go in and be ready to receive instruction from the teachers as well as receiving education. Have any other questions you can ask at the panel table?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next panel member is going to be representing the Fellowship of Christian Athletics or Athletes here in Wayne County, and that's going to be the Reverend Larry Pickens. We're going to ask him to come and introduce his program at this time.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Brother Marshall. A few years ago, I was given this great opportunity and a great privilege to be able to go into the schools in Wayne County and be able to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I really do. I really think that's one of the greatest privileges that God could ever give to me. I'm a minister, and I know that, you know, they got pulpits that you can go and preach behind to people, but I get some of the greatest privilege to be able to go into the schools and preach to these children, to be able to give them an opportunity to share their faith with one another. And I want to thank Mr. Graves tonight, you know, for allowing us to do that. I got a group of ministers that comes with me. On Tuesday, we go down to the school line to Buckatona, and we have what we call a huddle, LCA huddle. LCA is an acronym for Fellowship of Christian Athletes, as Marshall said. And it's a nationwide program that gives us the right to be able to go into the schools and be able to share the gospel. And I think it's one of the greatest things that we could come up with. When we go down to Buckatona on Tuesday morning, we got 30 or 40 kids that sometimes they don't even go to their breakfast. They come and share with one another. We have a devotion and have prayer. At the Waynesboro Middle School, Mr. Marshall allows us to come down there on Wednesday morning. And there's so many kids down there that we have to break it up into 2 groups. 1 week, 5th and 6th come, and we got like 200 or 300 kids. That's the reason why I don't even have to worry about trying to get into a church. We got 200 or 300 kids that come and want to hear something about the gospel. And then the next week we go with the 7th and 8th grade, same thing. There's 200 or 300 kids that come. We have right at 500 kids there, and you can go by a classroom on that Wednesday morning, and there's probably nobody in that classroom. Everybody's in the gym where we have Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We have a devotion. And then we leave there and we go to the high school, and the same opportunity. Dr. Davis, a blessing to this community. She allows us to come up there, and we go in the cafeteria on a Wednesday. And kids they give up their breaks and they come in there, and we have a devotion with all these ministers and these young men. And also once a month, I thank God Dr. Davis for setting this up. Once a month, she gives us 30 minutes in the cafeteria, and we get to go in there and probably it's probably 1,100 kids at the high school. I guess right at 1,000. Probably half of them are in that cafeteria once a month, you know, waiting to hear something about what God has to say. And so I just thank God for this awesome privilege to be able to share this with you all kids there at the schools. And like I say, you know, it's just an honor to be able to do it. Thank you.
Our final panel member for introduction tonight is going to be addressing school safety, and I ask you to join me in making welcome to our panel the Reverend DeJuan Wiley.
All of us were shocked It's saddened and greatly alarmed by the recent school shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. Evil touched that school and community, and it's given us all pause because we've asked ourselves, if something like that can happen there, what about here? What about our schools? So what I want to share with you very briefly tonight is what we are doing in the Wayne County School District to address the issue of school security, what is already in place and what we are doing to improve school security. All our schools have a crisis plan, and they have drills to rehearse what to do in the event of a crisis, such as a tornado, bomb threat, fire, or an armed intruder on campus. Installation of cameras and doors at the main entrance of each school requiring a swipe card to enter should be complete by the 1st of February. And these swipe cards will be issued to all school personnel. They'll be worn on a lanyard and will allow entry for school personnel. These swipe cards will also function as a picture ID card of each school employee, as the cards will have the name, school, and position of each school employee. Now, students, parents, school employees, and others entering the school campus will all be channeled to the main entrance. The office personnel at each school will be monitoring by camera those who desire to enter, and they can communicate with them through an intercom system at the main entrance. The office personnel will use an automatic release to allow entry. Additional fencing has been approved for some of our school campuses to make these campuses more secure and to channel everyone to the main entrance of the school. All schools are now being evaluated for the need of security fencing. All classrooms at every school are now being evaluated to make sure that those classrooms can be locked from the inside with a single bolt lock. If not, these classrooms are on a work list that's currently being addressed by the district maintenance of our school district. The Superintendent, Ben Graves, is now working in conjunction with the Wayne County School Board, the Sheriff, and the Chief of Police to provide certified and armed deputies or officers to patrol and provide security at every school. We do have 2 certified officers on the campus of Wayne County High School that will also be utilized to help patrol on other campuses. Like me, you just heard that at the state legislature, that legislation is now being proposed through a grant to provide certified officers on the campuses across our state. We're hearing that the money that's going to be available is somewhere around $10,000, and the school district will have to provide a matching amount. We're hoping that's going to be more. It needs to be more, but if it's feasible and something we can tap into, we're going to do it. A district security committee is now in place, and we're evaluating every school campus for security needs. I'm on that committee. We're going to be making a recommendation to our school board February 4th. We'll have a report and some recommendations for them. Where am I, Marshall? I want to stop there. There are 2 or 3 other things that I could say, but if you have any questions, I'll be here as a part of the panel. Please feel free to ask. Thank you.
One thing we want to do before we move to our panel discussion here, and this is an underlying theme, and we see the importance of the standard of the Word of God in the raising up of our children and the education of our children. So we want to recognize all of the ministers who have committed their lives to the advancement of the gospel of Christ. To stand for recognition for just one moment, please. Stand right now. We appreciate you and what you've given your lives to do. Now we're going to take some time to fill some questions from the audience. And what I would like for you to do, if you have a question, is to stand up and we'll raise your hand and I'll address you. We'll get you to stand up and state your question and direct it to one of our panel members, and we'll allow 2 minutes for them to respond to your question. So at this time, I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the audience would have a question for any of our panel members. Yes, sir.
This question is for Minister Bowman. I'm familiar with all the programs that have been talked about up there, except for the Stop Intervention program. And I was just wondering if the program is a standalone program.
Come up here and address that if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Rankins. That's a good question. I would have to answer that with a no, because in the fact that all of us are in this together. And if we're to be effective by way of educating our children, and I'm out there trying to do something on my own, then we're not going in the same direction. So we're not a standalone program. We're only part of the puzzle that we're trying to put together to be able to bring the picture to be. We're only here as an entity or society working together with the administrators, the staffs of the schools, as well as the teachers to get our children educated.
Okay, is there anyone else that'd like, and I would ask you if you would, and I should, Mr. Rankin, I should ask you if you stand, let us know who you are when you ask your question. I'm sure everybody knows everybody anyway, but let's stand up, state your name, and then direct your question, please. Anybody else? While you're thinking, I have a question or two myself. And again, you have priority. First, I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Jones with the Elephant Men. And how do the Elephant Men know if they're being successful with any of the particular students? How do you evaluate that? Step in mind and share that with us.
We don't do an evaluation. As I said, we've been in this 11 months. The way we know we are successful, number one, Mr. Graves and the principals always welcome us and ask us to come back or when we're coming back. That's number one. Number two, and the most greatest way that we know it and make us feel good, when we're downtown at a supermarket or at Fred's or Walmart's, the same little boys that we mentor run up to us and say, "Mama, this is one of the Elephant Men." And from those parents, they tell us the stories and the things that those children come back and recite to them that they have benefited from being with us in our sessions. Now, I didn't say it earlier, but we only work with young boys from kindergarten through 12th grade. But we have, in my opinion, been successful up to this point in reaching those young people. We work with them on their conduct and attitude, but then we find out some of them need help in a particular science area of science or math or reading, and the other kids will volunteer to help it. They are beginning to help each other and mentor each other just by bringing each other together.
Take a moment, have a little time to think. Still got more time. Allow everybody a chance. Continue to think. And we'll ask another question from the, that's the thing, it's almost been a pulpit tonight, from the pulpit. Nothing wrong with that, like our mother should have a little church in here. But anyway, I have this question that we're going to direct to Dr. Jordan with the JAG mentoring program, and we would ask, how does the community educational support systems of Mississippi help enhance families in the community? And if you would come and take your time to address that question for us.
What we try to do, we try to get the parent involved, we get the parent and the student together. We sit down with the parent and the student and develop an educational plan. And that educational plan consists of many things. I won't go in detail now. But a lot of things, what the child is going to do, there's a number of books that that person needs to read, the student needs to read, like 10 books this year. At the end of that year, the parent has to initial the books that they read, that kind of thing. Not only that, there are some other things that have happened. We've had the student, the parent to come to school and meet with the teacher. And after that meeting, we have seen some evidence in terms of the behavior as well as the grade level improve. And we are in the process of making notes of those improvements that we have, and we'll be able to report not only to the school district, but to anyone else that would like to know what the results are by the 1st of May. I know school's going to be out shortly after that, but by May we'll have all of that. So we are making notes as we go along. And let me also say, we're located at 411 Azalea Drive, which is down in the Azalea Mart. And any questions or anything that parents like to know, we are there to help. We have a telephone number that you could call, and we'll be here right after the meeting, so if you like telephone numbers or that kind of thing, we'd be happy to give to you. Thank you.
Reverend Wally, you were, I gotta cut you short. I've been wanting to do that for years. You're the pastor for that. The hammer on you. 3 minutes for you, that's all you. But anyway, I gotta cut you short, so I'm gonna ask you if you would come and complete what you were talking about having certified officers in the plans on the campuses.
You know, when we talk about having certified officers, you know, at our schools, sometimes we'll hear the comment, well, could that be something, or might that be something that will cause the kids to be fearful in some way? But I would just say, you know, we have them at in every area of our society. We have them at banks, hospitals, on planes. I was with my wife over in Hattiesburg at that shoe store next to Hobby Lobby, and they even got one in in the shoe store, you know. So I definitely think that if we can at least have them, if not full-time, doing some walkthroughs, it could definitely be a deterrent having those officers on our campuses. And again, we are working toward that end. We want to do everything we can to make our campuses secure for our kids.
Thank you, sir. You got a hand? Please stand up. State your name and your question, please, and to your panel member.
I'm employed the picture of Bryantown Head Start Center here in Waynesboro. And I had wanted to ask Mr. about the food safety issue. As being an employee at a center myself, and the safety of kids are very important to us out here in the Wayne County area. And after the shooting incident, the question came up was, would it be a good thing for teachers to be armed? And with you being the head about educational safety, I would like to know what you think about that comment when it went forth and how you think that would affect us being an educator in the classroom. Don't think it would be a good idea, but I'd like to know what you think about that.
I'll repeat the question for some of you who may not have heard it. It's a question that's focusing around the comment that's made, should teachers be armed? And Reverend Wally will address that question.
To answer that question quickly, I'm with you. I personally don't think that that's a good idea, and we don't have any plan, you know, toward that end. When I mentioned a moment ago, certified officers, these are people who are trained. They know what to do with the weapon and how to use it. And that's the only consideration that we would have, would be people that are trained to do that meet the certifications. So the answer would be no. That's not something that's a consideration.
Again, please stand up front. We'll get to you. Keep you in a minute.
My name is Eddie Jones, and I'm from Tupelo. And my husband and I came down to this program as a result of all the things that we discussed with my brother-in-law and my husband's brother. And we are former mentors from the state of Kentucky, and I taught in school district there. And my question is for either of the four of you with the different programs. Have you worked together on any of the things that you share? Do the four of you get together?
I'd like to, the question, your voice is pointing this way, they may not could have heard in the back. The question was to our panel members, I believe exclusive of Mr. Jones here, is do you work collectively or corporately with one another along the way? So I'm going to ask one of our panel members, would they like to take a step to answer this question? I'll give you a shot, 2 minutes. You come on, brother. You come first.
I think I can.
Let me get Reverend Brogan first, and then I'll get you next. Okay.
The question, the answer to your question would be yes. There have been cases where we have had programs that have been on the weekend where we have called in people from Mr. Jordan program dealing with the RAT to deal with aspects of our program, which is dealing with alcohol and smoking and drugs on this level. And every week, Reverend Pickett and I, as in dealing with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, we are working together. When he's out, I work with him in the program out there in the school, going around speaking motivational and as well as with Mr. Jones. You know, we talked and collaborated, and we go out and to the alternative school. We see some of his members in his organization, the Elephant Men, and we communicate in reference to the kids that is out there. So, yes, to your question.
Dr. Jordan, come on.
And I was gonna say too, and how do you find this beneficial?
I think that's an excellent question. We have, Reverend Pickens is one of the mentors that have worked with us. So he's worked exclusively with us. We met with Mr. Jones for a minute, and we think it's an excellent job. We have not gotten to the point where we work with them as much as we would like to, because we think every student in Wayne County ought to have an educational plan. All of the ones that they work with ought to have that. We've not gotten to the point where we've gotten there. We'd like very much to, and we just hope that Mr. Jones and the rest of them would work with us in doing that. And by the way, we'd like to commend Mr. Jones for this activity tonight. We think it's an excellent activity.
He was asking about your question, the last part of the question you asked between those two gentlemen responding there.
I was just wondering if you all found it beneficial to do that, if you could combine some things and reaching your goals.
We love to do that. We don't think Wayne County is large enough to have 3 or 4 mentoring programs, so we think if we work together, we believe where there's unity, there's strength. So we like very much to do that, and I'm offering publicly that we like very much to do it to everyone that's at this table as well as the school district.
You know, I was thinking about that myself when I was invited to this, some of the preliminary meetings about what was going to happen here tonight, and I said, well, this is going to be, if nothing else, a great way for like-minded people to come together to bring what they're doing together to promote just what you're talking about, and that's a unity of effort, commonality of purpose. So we're excited about what can come from this in that respect alone. This question, well, we had a question in the back.
My name is Mary Hayes, and my question is to Mr. Wally. Mr. Wally, do you all plan on having metal detectors installed in the near future? Is that part of you all's plan for protection of the children and the teachers?
I'll just answer that from here. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes. Some of you that have been around a while like me know that we have utilized, metal detectors. I think at all the campuses now, they have what we call the wand metal detectors, not the ones that you actually walk through in the entrance, but I think they have those that can be used with searches and so forth. Our goal, our main goal now, again, after the Sandy Hook incident, is to try to make sure on every campus that we have our campuses secured in such a way that if somebody wants to come on one of our school campuses to bring harm to our students or to the teachers or people there, somebody with a weapon, that we're going to do everything we can to deter that. And the thing is, if we can put some of these other measures in place like we're talking about, what we have learned from recent school shootings is that those that usually are responsible there, they don't try to sneak around and do what they do. They come right in the front, right in the main entrance, right that way. Also, we've found out that some of these kids, a lot of these kids are people involved in these shootings, they've had a troubled past. Maybe they've been bullied in school. I'll be attending a symposium in Harrisburg on February 8th about anti-bullying. We already have policies and procedures in place, but the more we can understand about that and try to stop some of those things, maybe we can prevent. But to answer your question, we want to do whatever we need to do to make our campuses secure. We're not going to rule anything out if it's feasible for us to do it.
Thank you, Mr. White. We're going to entertain 2 more questions, and then we're going to make a few comments, and we'll move on to the next portion. If you would, please, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'd just like to ask Reverend Wiley one question about the demographics of the makeup of your committee. Law enforcement, the state and the county involved in this strategy that we're putting forth?
As he stands, the question for those of you in the back was the makeup of the safety committee and who all is a part of that.
Okay, to answer your question about the district's security committee, on that particular committee, that is just district personnel. But do the district personnel on that committee, are we looking at state codes, state guidelines, and those other things? Absolutely. Are we looking at what other districts are doing? Also, absolutely we are. For example, we are drafting a policy that our school board has approved on school security. And we've looked at what other school districts have done across the state. What we found out is that all those districts pretty much have the same policy that comes from the state school board association that has all the Mississippi codes in there so that we meet state guidelines. So we don't want to do anything that's not in conjunction with state, federal guidelines. No, but this particular committee is just district personnel involved in that, looking at our campuses and what our needs are.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley. Our final question of the evening, and we see right here one of our school board members, Ms. Leah Parson. Would you please stand and direct your question?
Yes, my name is Leah Parson. And I just want to ask all of the gentlemen that's there, have you noticed that it's been a pattern of these children that's alternative school and school suspension and maybe in schoolhouse and jailhouse? Have you noticed it being a pattern? Is there something in particular that's going on with these children? Or are they often repeat offenders? Or is this just something that you all are kind of picking up when you see it feels like a need?
Who would like to address, Reverend Bowley, you want to address that?
Thank you, Ms. Parson. To answer that question, I would have to say that we are seeing mostly in pertaining to the alternative schools and pertaining to the ISS, we're seeing a lot of repeat infractions. It's sad to say, even in working with some of the young people, that we might think that once we get them past that level back into the system and believing that they would be able to make it, we're finding that they're ending up right back into the ISS, or they're ending up right back into the alternative school. What we find out, the pattern is boils down to most of them behavior, great concern, and we know that behavior, when it comes to bad behavior, there could be many factors, underlying factors. So I believe that what is important is, and what we have to offer by way of the program, is we can do one-on-one by way of these children doing what is known as a temperament. This temperament is not measuring by way of the level of their anger, but this temperament would allow us to get down to the root of their problem and to find out why they're doing what they're doing. Rather than seeing the mask, which is what they're doing, we're able to look beyond that mask and be able to determine why they're doing what they're doing. And then if we can, this is offered by way of a curriculum that we're bringing. I have a sheet over there, 47 courses that we'll be offering in the next phase of our program. where they can be able to do these courses online, and for those kids that are suspended or by way of, we can be able to do a classroom setting, preparing them for the alternative school. That way, and then when they get in there, they have a better mindset to be educated and be prepared to go back into the mainstream. Thank you.
That's going to bring our panel discussion to a close tonight, but we are going to have some time afterward where you can catch these gentlemen and been there a little bit and find out what's going on and have some real close interpersonal relationship and talk with them. Again, we want to thank Mr. Dan Jones with the Elephant Men Mentoring Program, Dr. John Jordan with the JAG Mentoring Program, Reverend Jeffrey Bogan, who's representing both the NAACP Education Committee and Stop Intervention, Brother Larry Pickens with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and finally, Reverend Wally with our School of Safety. Let's give these gentlemen a round of applause.
All right, again, we encourage you, if you have some questions, to ask those in the minutes following this program. We have to keep things moving here. One of the things we do want to recognize at this point is we have a table of refreshments. And if you're like me, you're probably going, when are we going to get to those? Well, there's some good news about that. You know, a program like this could have something catered, and we did have it catered. But guess what? It's the culinary class from the Wayne County Career and Technical Center. We want to thank Ms. Waller for the assistance in making that happen. We want to thank the students for their attention to detail and their dedication. This is something, when we challenge our young people to step forward, they do it. You know, Wayne County's got a show choir. Come on out, guys. Come on. Let's show some love to our young people. Mr. Bobby Jones is the director at the Career and Technical School. In case you haven't noticed, I went by the other day and the sign changed. I noticed, Bobby, it says Career and Technical. Guess what? These young people are making a name for themselves. We need to encourage that. We've got a show choir that's state recognized. We've got a football team. Now we've got kids that can cook. And Bobby will give a shout out to your other programs, your agriculture, your vocational programs, welding, auto mechanics. My goodness, what a great opportunity for these young people. So again, thank you so much for this. Ms. Waller, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you. We're going to bring Dan Jones up very quickly here for a couple of recognitions, and then we're going to draw for some prizes, and then I promise we'll get to the refreshments.
Thank you, Mr. Dunlap. There's a couple of people I would like to really recognize, and I'm going to ask one to come up here and say something, because my group, Rock Solid Youth Education, is the umbrella of the Elephant Men. You may not think that, because all of my group are young, small people. Stand up, young people, Rock Solid members and volunteers. This is the father of the Elephant Men. This is who made tonight happen, along with one other special man that I took this idea to, and he said, let's do it. Mr. Ben Graves, come on up here and just say hello and nothing else. This is the Superintendent of Education for the Wayne County School District. He's just got to say something. He's only got a minute.
All I need is really a minute, and I just want to say thank you, not only to this group of men and Dan Jones and this panel, but for you for being here. Because I know everybody's busy, but I can't think of any better reason to get together than the education of our students. And I just want to let you know I appreciate you coming. We have a lot of administrators here. I appreciate them coming. I appreciate your support, continue to support us, and we're going to continue to try to do our very best to educate the children of Wayne County, also to keep them safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. One other young man that I would like to recognize, and I want to thank all of the teachers and Ms. Jeannie West and Tammy Wilson. Those are the people behind the scenes. Mr. Graves said, let's get it done, and they put their shoulder to the wheel and they moved the wagon. And I appreciate y'all for helping make this happen. And I want you to recognize one young man who's here tonight, and his wife has already stood up and said that they're from Tupelo, Mississippi by way of Georgetown, Kentucky. The Elephant Men's, believe it or not, are a spin-off from Georgetown, Kentucky. He has been doing this for 15 or 20 years in Georgetown, Kentucky. He has retired and moved to Tupelo. So now he's ready to start a program in Tupelo. I understand he met with school officials just this week to see where that's going. But because of my affiliation with him, my brother John Jones, and I'm Daniel, and I don't know why my mama named us that. We everything but we ain't nothing but devils. Our name came right out of the Bible. I would like to have my brother to step up right now, and because of being involved with the Elephant Men's in, well, they want to call it Elephant Men in Georgetown, Kentucky, we're going to make him an honorary Elephant Man tonight. I hope that fits him.
I want to say before I sit down, don't be discouraged because the Super Bowl is coming up, and I don't know which one of you they put XL, and I wasn't good at Roman numbers. But the first Super Bowl they actually gave out tickets in order to fill up the Coliseum. They gave out tickets because people were not coming. So, but now look at the Super Bowl coming up in February. I think I saw for 30-second ad it's going to cost like $4 million. So have that boy in the stadium next year. Keep going.
All right, we're getting ready for the door prize here. I'm sure most of you have received your